Namaste and welcome, holy beloved bearers of the light who bring your divine presence, your love and your willingness to stand in this interwoven chain of miracles with us, to see that there's only light. We can ask Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, is our only function to be light? When we look in the light of divine as, it's because really who we are as. At first there's like an argument. I can't be that. It has to be. So I can't be that simple. It can't be that simple that the light's already here. I'm already saved. So we just try and find the one who's saying that. Is the light saying it? Saying it's too simple? Is infinite light saying, oh, too bad, it's got to be complicated to see who you are? Is Jesus saying it's got to be complicated? What makes it complicated is we like to set up a little, God's courtroom is like empty. It doesn't have anything in it. And then what the consciousness likes to do is it likes to drag two tables over to try to negotiate with God about who we are. Jesus, do I want to negotiate with God about who I am? Whenever we give but Jesus out, that's a negotiation with God to try to convince God what we're not. You can ask Jesus, Jesus, when I don't follow you, am I trying to compromise divinity? Wow. Am I trying to compromise myself as light? Am I trying to say no to myself as infinite light when I don't follow? It's not until we really recognize what we're compromising, what compromise really is. We thought following, the way ego plays is to follow Jesus, I'll be compromised. Ask Jesus, Jesus, is that the whole upside down thought system? That if I follow inner light, I'll be compromised? And how we need his help to show us where we're trying to negotiate with the light, to try to tell the light how we think things should be. Yeah. Let's just see. Jesus, can you show me anywhere today that I was trying to negotiate with the light not to be who I am? It's like, but Jesus, if you just give it, how about meeting me that way? That's so gorgeous. Because it's helpful, even when we say it, because then we can see it. You know, when we see it, that's what's so beautiful about these joinings. Like you just see it. Like, yeah, I'm trying to negotiate with God to tell God that I'm not holy. The whole gig is a negotiation to argue with ourselves about being holy. Ask Jesus. Jesus, is this whole gig here for me to argue with myself that I'm not holy? He said that's all it can be. Because see, is the light whispering in your ear going, you're not holy? Is the light saying that? The light just is. Infinite, unchanging light. Before a single thought arises, what's here? I love that. Nisargadatta Maharaj, who are you before you were born? Before your parents were born? What was that? It stops the mind. Until you realize Jesus, in the light of divine being, was I ever born? So the ego plays like a body gets born and then a body dies. And that's birth and that's death. No, it's being born, continually birth and death of a personal identity, just dying to the light. It's born that there's no light and pretending like we're dead. And that kind of goes back, subsides. And then the whack-a-mole comes out. We play dead for a while and then come up. See that the light is the only thing that's continuous in the light of infinite being. Is that the only thing that's continuous in honesty of God? So that's all we're seeing. The contrast, like, wait, there's something here. It's like, snuggle up to that. Snuggle up to infinite. Yeah, we were just talking about, if I can remember that quote, about laying our head on the pillow of death, snuggling up to death. That's what we're doing all day. Ask Jesus. He's saying every time you try and negotiate with the light, that's what you're doing. You're trying to snuggle up on the pillow of death by not following. Yeah, it feels good to talk about negotiations. How the ego wants to negotiate, and the spirit, again, there's no one sitting at the spirit table if you're trying to negotiate. Ask the light. In the light of divine being and honesty of God, does the light negotiate with anything? See, negotiation takes two. And what the ego likes to do is it likes to set up a table for negotiation and then be on both sides of the table. And the spirit never sits and negotiates. See that the light doesn't know what a negotiation, the light just is. The spirit's sitting at the table playing both parts, trying to get a better deal. How can you get a better deal than all that is? That's the question. Jesus, am I trying to get a better deal than all that is? That's the play. The play like there could possibly be more than all there is. That sounds insane, doesn't it? It's insane. But then we can just hold up in there. That is insane. But until we see how insane it is, what we're fighting to keep. Just like chapter 11, desire to deny love. Jesus, do I have a desire below my level of awareness to deny myself the love of the Father? Every time you say no to my voice, you're saying no to yourself. We can ask them. Jesus, every time I'm not asking for your help, am I saying no to myself? So that's why he's saying ask, 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 to really get in that habit, to break the habit of not asking. He said, and we can ask, he's telling me we can ask for his help to remind me to ask. He'll give what help we're willing to have. He's also reminding me, this is a game that the ego will play, this one. I wrote it in the group, the little messenger group, a new hashtag Jesus gave, metaphysical sideways. And that's when, you know how Jesus says in a course, and he goes, the ego can twist anything. And the ego will twist metaphysics like a pretzel. Okay, so you'll see it. We see the play, how it likes to take a metaphysical concept. And the example I gave was, well, you can't get it wrong. That's a metaphysical pretzel right there. Because you can just feel the energy of it. You'll know it. See that the light doesn't, you can see it. It's like, it tosses things out like a dead fish. That's what they, to defend its position. It'll make an excuse. This is the reason, because I can't get it wrong, that I don't have to follow the Holy Spirit. Ask Jesus, is this a delay tactic? I can't get it wrong, so I'm not going to follow. No, you can't get it right. Wrong is to see that you're the light right now. Jesus, am I light of the divine being right now? To see that there's only light here. And that the light's not, if you're metaphysically sideways, meaning taking a metaphysics and twisting it, the light's not impacted. Is the light impacted by metaphysical trying to, instead of going straight up to Jesus, to go sideways and go, oh, I don't have to do that because I'm not going to get it wrong. I'm always going to get it right. Just see that the metaphysical sidewaysing it is death. You can ask Jesus. Jesus is that death. To take a metaphysical concept and keep it as a concept, rather than metaphysics point to life. When Jesus is saying, I need do nothing, there is no exchange in this world for the recognition of I need do nothing in its wholeness. When he's saying things like that, he means recognize it, not use it as another pair of scissors to poke your eyes out. That's what the ego likes to do with these things. He's saying, look with me. Look with me to see in the light of divine being that you cannot get it wrong. Because the light is light. And the light doesn't know what wrong is. See, that's what he's saying. Look with me to see that I need do nothing. And then when that's really grasped in the heart, like the heart just blooms in the holy goodness, and you'll see it on some of the videos when it blooms like, wait, like that. The metaphysics are only for your contemplation, for the recognition that to see you, that lives in you. He's pointing directly to divinity. Divinity is what it is. It's pure light. It's not for the ego to come in and grab and use as a little poster, because even Jesus's metaphysics can be used as a protest sign against divinity. I need do nothing. And without actually following the Holy Spirit, you won't see it. Because when we don't follow, then we're siding with weakness. And weakness, when you're siding with weakness, you cannot live as you are, as a divine being. It's an interesting thing that Jesus says, I need do nothing, yet he says, you can do anything I ask. Because we need his help to unwind from the idea that something needs to be done to win heaven. So in that following, he's teaching divine expression. That I do need to do nothing, but you can't, the ego stays in that little comfort zone and doesn't go anywhere. And then the other thing that the metaphysics, this is metaphysical death, to let the ego get hold of metaphysics. That's why he's saying deep contemplation right now with this text, to look with him deeply at it. So it lives in you. So that you see that life is who you are. You are life itself. Infinite, unchanging life. That's who we are. And one of the death tolls is, I can hear Jesus. I hear Jesus. And the ego will even use that. The way you know it's Jesus is it's going to sing. That's how you know it's Jesus. It's not, the I doesn't know what Jesus is, but the I can pretend like it knows what Jesus is. It can live inside the concept of what Jesus is and what Jesus. How do you know Jesus? Because chances are he's going to tell you, the I, something it does not want to hear or do. At first. After a while, then you just see it's your own voice speaking. But at first, there'll be like an objection, and your brother's going to hear it too. Very often. Very often, it depends on what brother you choose, because consciousness is a play of finding the brothers that's going to agree with it. That's why I was really saying, as we start getting clear together, you'll build to join with your brothers on decision making. That's the last thing the ego wants to do. Because it likes that autonomy. But since there's only one Jesus, when you really clear out the debris above a decision, you'll see. And I've had beings say that so beautiful. She goes, yeah, I just didn't, at first I thought I wanted that, but when I really looked at it, I saw that I didn't really want to do it. See, we're so much in a habit of saying no to ourselves that even when Jesus gives us what someone might call the green light, because of fear, we'll mask he can send a fire truck over. You know, it's like that famous joke. I know everybody's heard this one. Let's see if I can tell it. It's hilarious. Probably can't say it as good. Where this guy's on the roof, you know, and he's in a flood and the water's rising. Jesus said, I'll send someone for you. So these guys come by in a little boat and they go, hey, we can help it. He goes, no, thanks. God's going to help me with this. And water's rising up. Another boat comes by. Hey, we can help you. No, God's coming to get me. Here comes a helicopter. Hey, we're going to help you out. Oh, no, thank you. God's coming. And then he shows up at the pearly gates with St. Peter. And he goes, St. Peter's going, what are you doing here? He said, well, God said he's going to send me someone. He said, look, God sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. If you don't get on the boat when he sends the boat. See, that's what our brother's for, is to help us know when to get off the boat and on the boat. How we can be clear. Because a lot of times we're saying things like, well, Jesus hasn't told me that. No, Jesus told us, but we didn't really like it. I'm going to wait for another thing that Jesus tells me that I'll like better. Well, ask him, Jesus, do you tell me these things? And sometimes I'll like hold out because I really don't want to hear what you're telling me. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait for like a better deal. That's not sounding like I like, so I'm going to wait for a better deal. That's the play. That's like, let me just eke that timeline out. So, and all the beings that are here can talk about the times like, you just really, there are going to be lots of times you're not going to be feeling like following them. That's why he says we need the conviction and the faith in the value of ourselves more than we value that little idea of ourselves. That's why it's so beautiful, all the reflections of the beings jumping on those joining calls. I don't want to join, but I'm doing it anyway. That's having a higher value of identity, true identity. That's really following guidance. Because to the ego thought system, guidance is not comfortable. But we can also ask Jesus to help us, because we can ask him, Jesus, will you show me where there's below my level of awareness to be uncomfortable with your guidance? Is there any place below my level of awareness where I have a desire for experience to just want to avoid what you tell me like the plague? It's selective. Listen to Jesus with selectivity. We all play in that field. So see that he if we don't listen, God, is the light doing anything? No, the light just invites us. So it's not to, so the ego will take out a stick. Not only will it help you avoid talking to Jesus, it'll be kind enough to beat you with the stick. Stick and tell all the places you didn't listen. Now, if you, and Jesus told Helen this, if you see in the text, will he give retroactive guidance? In other words, will he point out places where you could have been better in tune? And that's the experience here, because I'll ask him, was I really listening here? Or no, yes, to fine tune the hearing, so he can help me the places where I wasn't willing to hear him. And it's also helpful for clarity. Jesus, was that your guidance? Yes. Is that your guidance? Yes. And then we can be the happy learner, because he's telling us where we are trying to hide from ourselves. Because with the same, this is why these joining sheets are so helpful. The same precision of us going to him and going, okay, where do I need a miracle? Show me which ones. It's tuning us in. We're learning to really focus on that voice when we practice these forms together, to really hear it. Okay, and he's telling, and then we reinforce it, speak it, hear it, speak it. Here's what he's telling me. And then we get really starting to be clear through our brother too, and hearing and really listening to our brother. And that will help us tune in. First of all, it's going to clear that desire not to hear him pretty quickly, because that's where he's going to point to very early on. He's going to say, let me show you where all the places are you don't want to listen. It's helpful. And if you're open, that's what it'll show you. Why you don't want to listen. But it's helpful. Where we're denying ourselves love, our own voice for love. And where we block Jesus, we think we're hearing him, but we really don't want to hear him. We need him to even show us that. And boy, you can even feel yourself tightening up when you go, oh, are there places I'm not listening to you? But just have a conversation with him about it. Just as many beings are reporting, it's just talking to a friend and just being really curious. Innocence, that's what he says. Be like a little child when you talk to Jesus. You'll feel really childlike, actually. That's experience here. And it just be very childlike in asking, like that curiosity. Well, Jesus, will you tell me about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about this? Like he says, usually we've already decided before we ask. And it's good to ask him, Jesus, did I already decide before I asked for your help? Because usually you'll be defending it, the decision. You'll just see, it'll be like this smoke screen rising of all the defenses of why you want to do something. Why you feel like you should do it and why the spirit's going to be taking something away. It's just like this smoke arises out of it. The defenses. And then the other way you can know Jesus is telling you, because you cannot sort out. I mean, at first the ego is going to come in and give a reason why you're doing something. But after a while, you see there's absolutely no reason. Like Jesus doesn't have a reason for what he's asking you to. There's not like you can't get a handle on it. Just see, does the infinite light, the light of divine being, have a reason to do anything? It just is in its wholeness and completions. Reasons or ideas arising in the doubter. And it'll play like that. It'll sound like reasons. Reasons might come out of your mouth, but you'll see really quickly that you don't know the reasons actually. And you'll be really happy not to know the reasons. Because reasons are exhausting. Reasons are defenses. Jesus, are having a reasons for what I'm doing defenses? And hear what he said. Like we have to justify it to our mother and our uncle and our brother and our sister, or and just see that it'll come a time when you just like, happiness is not having any reasons. Happiness doesn't need reasons. Ask Jesus, Jesus, do I need reasons? Those same reasons are the ones, the ego's trying to give the reasons why it should exist. Jesus is see that the light doesn't have reasons, it just is. Reasons are a reason to try and deny that love is here for all of us. The reasons, all the reasons why I can't be, actually asking them. Actually, all those reasons are the reasons why we're arguing against being divine love right now. Like it seems like something's supposed to happen in the future. And then Jesus is saying, no, not now. Don't even think about that. And you're going, and you want to start having why your world is wrong. because Jesus's divine timing doesn't match the outpicturing of what we want to happen. We're fighting continually with concepts. You can ask the light that. Jesus, am I fighting continually with the concept of who I believe I am? And he'll tell you that's the only thing you can have a fight with, is a concept. We can ask him, Jesus, are concepts constructed to have something to duke it out with? So that's why the ego tries to turn metaphysics into concepts, so it has something to duke it out with. Jesus, every time I believe a concept, well, I feel like I'm in a fight, and ask him. That's deep. Every duke out is a piece of personal identity that we're holding on to. We can ask him, Jesus, every time I'm going to duke something out, does that mean I'm holding on to a piece of personal identity I don't want to look at? See, we really want to fight the light, but we can't, so we have to fight in concepts. Because is the light fighting anything? It doesn't fight. It just is. Infinite and supreme. So now we'll keep looking in chapter 11 and see where Jesus takes us in here. Oh, abandonment. Oh, let's look at abandonment again. Yeah, can we look at that, Jesus? Oh, so much love in that. Really, you start getting the biggest love cuddles when you start looking at these things. You just fall in love with joining, actually. I had like a little board meeting because I think I mentioned we're turning this into a charity, you know, or a nonprofit. And I've been in many of us have played that corporate game, the corporate, I'm going to be a, whatever I thought I was going to be. I've never just, it was just so beautiful to be in love in a meeting. You're just totally in love and just in gratitude the whole time. And being reminded too, when we were looking to find this place in guidance, I was looking for it, and we found this place and needed to have a meeting about some property. So part of the property is federal land. A lot of the property is federal land. It's a very small piece of property that actually is part of this property. And then the rest is federal land because it's on the lake. And so, you know, trying to understand that, not being from Mexico, it was like, okay, but it seemed like something I should at least have some idea about. So it was in guidance to have a meeting with an engineer who works with the water authority and the two real estate agents. And somebody said to me, you know, there's absolutely no way you're going to have a meeting on Christmas Eve. This was Christmas Eve this year. Like, I don't know anything about that. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, when's the meeting? Christmas Eve. Okay, now it's so amazing because I speak like maybe 25 words of Spanish. That's about it. Okay, now they're all Spanish. They're all Mexican. And they're just talking away in there. And I'm not knowing anything about a water. I don't know anything about anything. Oh, and I said, can we start this meeting with a prayer? He said, yes. So we said a prayer. And I don't know what's going on there. And I'm like so happy. I'm just sitting there. Like the K character I would have had that whole thing, you know, all worked out, all the notes, all the things. I didn't bring a thing into that meeting. I just sat in there and said, Jesus, what do I need to see in here? And I'm just so happy and so wonderful. And then they gave me hugs we hugged each other at the end. Christmas Eve, 2018. That's what he's offering us. Sit back, let me handle it. Okay, where do I sign the papers, Jesus? And trust, like having that feeling, each little step we take that he's going to show us things that we couldn't even imagine when he controls time and space. I mean, you just see it. It's like, we know who was in control of that meeting. Shoot the nuts. And when we completely empty of any ideas actually about anything, no reasons, no rhyme, that's the only way we can be happy. Ask Jesus. Jesus is the only way I can totally be truly happy, is to have no idea about anything. Mhm. So this is such a deep dive in this chapter with self-abandonment. Oh, he's saying yeah, I hear him. He's saying spend a lot of time on this with him. What some would consider a lot of time. Just going deeper and deeper to just wash out that desire for self-abandonment. As we talked about with the Joker movie, it was like his father abandoned him, his mother abandoned him. No, we abandon ourselves every time we feel a twitch. You can ask Jesus, is that self-abandonment when I feel a twitch? Yes, ask him. Oh, so much love comes. So you mean, Jesus, whenever I feel a twitch, I've abandoned myself? Let that one sink in. Whoa. I made a decision to abandon myself as divine being. And then look for then the ego takes it out and goes, let me just find all the reasons out there why I've been left by God. That's deep. But so much love comes from just letting those desires to feel abandoned released. The whole ego thought system depends on the experience of abandonment. The miscreation of an experience of abandonment. You can ask Jesus because we can all hear him. Does the whole thought system rest on self-abandonment? That'll take you right to heaven. Like, oh. Every day, it's so more and more obvious. We need Jesus. We need each other. Because each of us comes with that heaven, trying to bear the gifts of heaven, and we fend ourselves off of all the gifts that our brother would give. That's self-abandonment. Whenever we resist, resistance is self-abandonment. Ask Jesus. Jesus, when I feel resistance, is that self-abandonment? Okay. Whenever I don't jump to join and I just stay in that little tight, is that self-abandonment? Like, oh, yes. When I try to negotiate with Jesus, is that self-abandonment? No way to get around it. Aw. No way around it. That's all he's trying to say. You're innocent. Just see where you're abandoning yourself. You're abandoning all the gifts that are within. And then we can start accepting every gift our brother's giving us in wholeness. Son of God, Look carefully at what you have made. It is a self-imposed trick of the desire to experience despair and desolation. This is self-abandonment. You have laid out for yourself. The answer is already here. So despite all the self-abandonment and dancing and running down the hall to get away from Jesus, is the light still here? Mm-hmm. Do we get to take, does the light go down the hall with us? Yeah. Does the light know birth or death? Mm-hmm. Does the light go, well, you didn't listen to me 5 minutes ago. Does the light say that? No. The light just says, come to me now. Just hear me now. That's all. It was so beautiful, him reminding me yesterday about does Jesus give one iota of a thought about past? What we've done in the past. Does the light have does it have like a little storehouse in there where it's keeping everything we did wrong? It's helpful to see, because that's the play. We're so sure the light's just got it all counted up. And does the light have one iota of concern about our future? That's a great thing to look at. The light's just here with us now. It's what we share. The only thing we can share is light. And to hold each other's hands and hold Jesus up, as we say here, one hand on Jesus, one hand on our brother, to keep us straight up and following. And he's really encouraging us to, on those decisions, to really join on those decisions we think we're making. Do you hear it? What do you hear? And really trusting your brother at that level. Say, what do you hear about this? I'll make no decisions by myself, and your brother can help with that. And you just beautiful to hear your Jesus speak through your brother, and bring things to you through your brother of the spirit, of things you might not have thought of before. So thank you for all the joining and sharing all your Jesus voices and all the things you're hearing from Jesus. And within the next couple of days, that light brigade should be able to go public, and we'll be able to, you can still join it if you want to be on the light brigade. You can still be on there. We have a little bulletin board where you can share. The point is to really share what you've talked to Jesus about. Here's what I heard, and here's what he said. So we can really practice hearing and expressing, because it's so natural to us to do that. That's everyone who comes to these hears Jesus. It's impossible that you not hear Jesus. We just sometimes need a little practice because we're not sure how well we hear him. We're a little tentative. But he's going to help us with that. Straight up. This is the hashtag Supreme Happiness team here. Love you. Amen.